Hello everyone, my name is Raina D. Jute, and this is the technical demonstration and overview of my Module 3 Rocket Elevators front-end design project. Before we get into any code or take a look at the website, I think it's important that we read over the README document first, so that way we can understand what the project is for and what it's designed to do. So as you can see on the screen, this is the Rocket Elevators front-end redesign. It's a polished, accessible web experience. It is designed for property owners, building managers, and service coordinators who need elevator services. This is the tech stack. This is all of the tech that was used in creating and editing the existing website. This is the project structure, and beside it is all of the annotations, just telling you what each file is used for. Installation and setup instructions. There are no environmental variables. There are 2 pre-built API endpoints, but none were created for this project. The get function for the agent data, the post function for the contact form submission, and then just general usage instructions of what you can expect whenever you download this website or visit this website on your computer. So with that being said, let's start with feature 1, which is the styling feature. Starting on the home page, this feature focuses on consistent brand styling across the entire website. All headings and navigations use Roboto Slab, while the body text uses Roboto Serif for readability. As I scroll, you will be able to see that all of the headings are blue, and upon hover, they turn red. The 1976 is red and bigger and bolder than the rest of the font, so that foundation date really stands out. The CEO section and the Employee of the Month section are changed to the brand blue. Same thing here with that hover. And the news section spacing is the same as what is in the portfolio spacing. And then the Contact Us form right here at the bottom. And the hours, Saturday is highlighted, bold, and in a different color, so that way it stands out and just denotes to the customer that Saturday's hours are different than the rest of the hours. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we'll see that that footer has changed to that brand blue color as well. And if we navigate to the residential page, we will see that that breadcrumb header is the brand light blue. Same thing with commercial, that header color is the brand red. And if we move over to the Request a Quote page, we will see that the step headers change colors depending on what is the building type selected. So if you select residential, the step headers turn blue. If you select commercial, they turn red. And if you select industrial, it turns light gray. That is all for feature 1. So let's go to the code and see how we made all that happen. So all the styling overrides live in this rocket-new.css. At the top of the file, we can see that I defined CSS variables using this root function. This is important because it centralizes all the brand colors. Instead of repeating hex values everywhere, I can reference variables like rebrand blue and rebrand red. And if the branding ever changes, we can just change these values instead of having to change the values of every single element within the CSS file. The typography is controlled with these 2 sections here, so all of the headers, H1 through H6, are controlled within this section, and all of the body and paragraph fonts are controlled with this section. If we scroll down a little bit, we will see the hover function is here. So all of the headers, again, H1 through H6, have this hover effect on them. The hover effect uses what is called a pseudo class selector, which is this colon hover, which applies styles when the user interacts with an element, whether they focus on it, if their mouse hovers over it, if they click on it. It's basically a way to define a specific state of an element without needing to use JavaScript. And if we move to quote.js, the step headers that change color depending on the type of building that's selected, this is all handled within JavaScript. So this function right here basically finds all of the elements with the class step header and returns them. It returns what is called a node list. It's not a regular array. So a node list looks like an array, but it's a collection of nodes or HTML elements that you can loop over. Think of it like saying, hey, JavaScript, give me a bucket of all of the headers that I want to style. And then if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we'll see this section right here. So these 4 sections right here just denote that if residential is selected, then the header colors will be blue, commercial is selected, red, industrial, and gray. And then this for each is a method that's available on arrays and node lists in modern browsers. It takes a callback function, which is just a function that runs for each item in the list. And then here, the arrow header is an arrow function, and it's a shorthand way of writing a function. So this function right here is saying, for each header in my bucket, run this function and set the color. So that is all of feature 1 styling. So we can move on to feature 2, which is the contact form. So back on the HTML page, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, is that contact form. The submit button is disabled initially, preventing any empty submissions. As I fill in the fields, the validation runs in real time, just ensuring that all of the required fields have something in them. And then per the requirements, the only file type that is able to be selected are image files, no PDFs, no documents, nothing like that. So we'll attach that. And then once everything is valid, I can submit. The form sends a post request, displays this success message, and then resets. And then if we move back over to the code, all of that logic lives here inside of the contactform.js. So at the very beginning, we have identified the endpoint of where we are sending the information to be stored. Everything is wrapped inside of this DOM content loaded function. This ensures that JavaScript only runs after the HTML is fully loaded. Without this, the script might try to access elements that don't exist yet, which would cause errors. I store all of the required fields in an array called required fields. This is important because it allows me to loop through all the fields instead of writing repetitive validation logic for each individual one. This function right here, the all fields filled, it uses the every method right here. Every is an array method that checks if every single element meets a condition. It returns true only if all of the fields have values, otherwise it's false. So just ensuring that every field within the contact form has some sort of value entered into it. Right underneath that, we have the file upload section. So what this function is doing is just checking that whatever is uploaded is an image file. So every file has a type like image/PNG or application/PDF. This function is just checking if it starts with an image and anything else is rejected. And then after that, we enable the submit button only when all the fields are filled and the file type is valid. And if we scroll down just a little bit, we will see the fetch function right here. So the submit uses fetch to send a post request. The fetch is a built-in JavaScript function for making HTTP requests. In this case, I sent JSON data to an API endpoint. I check if the response contains an error field right here. And then if we scroll up a little bit too, this builds the payload, so it makes sure that the information that we are sending to the API matches what the API is expecting from us. So just making sure that what we send speaks the same language as what the API is expecting. And that is the main logic for the contact form. So moving on to feature 3 is the agents table. The residential page is where the agent table lives. So it is right down here, our top-rated service agents. The table loads automatically using data from the API endpoint. The sorting works in both directions, so we can sort by first name alphabetically, and then last name we can do the same. We are also able to filter by the regions, and there is none available in the West, and so it just displays this message, no agents are available for the region. And again, we only want to show agents with a rating of 85 and higher, so the lowest that we'll see is 85. And the logic for this will live inside of a JavaScript file titled agenttable.js. So at the very top, we used a constant to define the API URL and a constant to define the minimum rating for the agent. And again, this is wrapped inside of a DOM content loaded event listener. I store all of the agents inside of this all agents. And if we scroll down a little bit, we'll see I use that fetch function again to get the agents list from the API. And then when the response arrives as raw HTTP data, JSON converts it into a JavaScript object. Then the data is now a JavaScript array, and from then we are able to manipulate it to show what is on the table. So after the agent list has been sorted and it meets that minimum rating requirement, then we use this slice and sort function right here. As you can see, I use the slice before the sort because what slicing does is it basically makes a copy of that agent list, and then we sort it. We don't want to use sort without using slice because then we would be modifying the original data, which we don't want to do. And then finally, everything runs through this apply, filter, and sort. This function acts as a controller. It combines the filtering and the sorting and then re-renders the table. This keeps the logic centralized and avoids any sort of duplication. So that covers all 4 features: styling, contact form validation, the agents table, and the best practices HTML and JavaScript comments, along with the underlying logic that is used in the code. Hope you learned something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.